Yo, what is going on, guys? Extra Fusion here, and today I'm going to be going over my top 50 favorite movies of all time. So I've recently started these reaction videos on this channel. Of course, I have my other channel still available. That's like the main gaming channel that I've been doing for like 7 years now. But I started this one mainly for The Walking Dead because I'm a big fan of that show and I wanted to make a separate channel for it. But I started to do these reaction videos and they're doing pretty well, so I'm definitely going to continue them. I have the Patreon as well. And right now we're doing Jurassic Park, and I'm getting a lot of recommendations for all sorts of movies and such. And I decided the best way for you guys to understand what type of movies I usually like and also what franchises I've already seen would be to just list off my top 50 favorite movies of all time. Now, of course, this is my personal ranking, meaning these are movies that just I like, right? I admit a lot of these movies on this list are not that good objectively. Like, objectively speaking, some of them aren't that great, but they have some sort of a place in my heart because they're my favorites. I'm not necessarily saying these are the 50 best movies of all time. I'm saying they're my 50 favorite movies of all time, which will allow you to kind of understand what types of movies I do like the most. Also, I've decided that some of these movies, because there's so many movies I've seen, there's also so many movies I haven't seen, so note that there might be a lot of movies I haven't seen that you would think deserve to be on a list like this, but I just haven't seen it. Also, there might be movies that I have seen, I just didn't like it that much compared to what a lot of other people did. But this ranking, right, there's going to be some spots where there's more than one movie in it. So for example, I'm just going to give an example here. Back to the Future is going to be on the list, but instead of doing Back to the Future Part 1 and Part 2 in separate parts of the list, I just put them together because the movies feel very close to each other. They're almost just as good as each other. They felt like they should be in the same spot instead of taking up 2 slots because I wanted to include as many movies as possible. So I did that for a couple different spots, and there's also, you know, some other ones like the Indiana Jones movies are kind of like that. But there's also some franchises where I spaced them out because I don't think they're as close to each other as something like the Back to the Future movies were. Not the third one, just like talking about the first 2. But regardless, let's get into this. The types of genres I like the most, you're going to notice exactly what types of movies I like just from this list. Horror, I'm a big fan of horror. Action, superhero movies, usually those bigger franchises like the MCU, Star Wars, those are the types of stuff I tend to like. And if it's like animated, I'd probably choose a couple of Pixar movies. There's 1 or 2 on the list, you'll see. So there's also a couple one-off movies that are on here that aren't really fit into any of those. They don't really fit into any of those genres that I just said, but I still really liked them for whatever reason. So let's get into this, starting with the number 50th spot, which is Iron Man from 2008. I'm not going to talk too much about these movies because I don't want to be here forever. I don't want this video to be like 8 years long. But Iron Man, it's the first one, right? It was the one that started the MCU. I gotta give it some credit there. If you're wondering how many MCU movies are gonna be on this list, I would say around like 7 or 8, to be honest. I really am a big fan of the MCU, and Iron Man deserves to be on the list at number 50. It, like I said, is what started it all. It was a much more simpler movie compared to a lot of the other MCU movies that came later on, but it was still one of the best just from how it was started and how Tony Stark's character was so like just asshole-ish in the beginning, and he kind of grew over time, and I think this movie started to show that growth a little bit, and it did expand upon, you know, the whole universe later on. Great movie, right? Number 49th spot, Freddy vs. Jason. So this is one of them where it's like, it's really not that good of a movie, but it's just something that I personally really love because I love these characters. Well, they don't really have a big character to them. Freddy they have backstories, obviously, but in terms of like just action and just insanity and just crazy fun, this movie delivers on that so damn well. It's not my favorite Freddy movie out there, but in terms of the Jason movies, yeah, I think it's my favorite out of any movie that Jason's ever been in. I don't have any other Friday the 13th movies on this list, so. But yeah, I'd say the last like 20 to 30 minutes of the movies was probably the best part of the whole movie, when it was literally just them fighting each other. It was intense, pretty good soundtrack to it as well. I wasn't around for it when it first came out because I was pretty young when it first came out. I recently saw it for the first time like a few years ago, and I loved it. Absolutely fantastic movie, and it honestly got me into this horror slasher genre a little bit because I wasn't really that into it before that, but starting after I watched this, I was like, okay, I gotta watch all these movies, and I really did enjoy a lot of them. Coming to the 48th spot, I got Venom from 2018. And Venom is a movie that's not really connected to the MCU, but they're gonna try to connect it in some way, it seems like. I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I don't think it's a fantastic movie. I don't think it's one of the best of all time. But in terms of just my favorites, I'd have to put it in the top 50 because I did have a really good time watching it. I'm really excited to see the sequel, which is like called Let There Be Carnage, I believe. It's got Carnage in it. I think Tom Hardy killed the role as Eddie. Killed it, like honestly. It was we only had one other adaptation of Venom on screen that I can think of. I'm pretty sure there's only other adaptation. But this one, much better as Eddie Brock for sure. And it just portrayed the character of Venom really well. I think there was some rough CGI later on in the movie that got a little crazy and was like, well, what the hell's going on? But it was a fun movie, and that's honestly one of the most important things to me in a movie is it fun? You know, the writing is important, right? But at the end of the day, if it's not a fun, entertaining movie, I'm probably not going to be crazy about it. That's just how I am with movies. It's just how I, like to watch them. It's got to have the entertainment factor there, and this one kills it with that. I know a lot of the other stuff, a little iffy, but got a great soundtrack as well, so it's got to get some credit for that. Number 47th spot, I got Ted 1 and Ted 2, so these are comedy movies. I got a couple of comedy movies on this list. I'm not a big comedy person because I find that most comedy movies can't really nail the humor right. Sometimes it's a little bit iffy, but Ted, because it's, kind of related to the creators of Family Guy. Obviously, some of the writers from Family Guy were working on this, and Seth MacFarlane, man, he just does a great job with everything he does, honestly. And I really did have it's one of those movies where it's not just really funny, but it's also actually got a pretty damn good story to it, and you're actually connected to what's going on, mainly in the first one. Second one I wasn't as crazy about, but I decided I think it's close enough to at least put it on the list alongside the first Ted. I think they're both fun movies, and honestly, I always wanted to see a third one. I think they should finish out the trilogy with a third one, but it seems like it probably won't ever happen, but I would really, really be down for that. Honestly, it would work well as a TV show even. I think that would be really cool, but obviously, Seth MacFarlane is busy with Family Guy and American Dad and all those other shows, so I doubt he would be down to do that. But it was still a great couple of movies that I really enjoyed watching nonetheless, and they're probably the movies I've laughed at the most out of any movie I've ever seen, so it definitely deserves a spot on the list. 46 is going to be It from 2017, and I decided, yeah, we'll put It Chapter 2 alongside it because I didn't love It Chapter 2 as much as the original one, but well, original meaning the original from these two movies. Obviously, there was like a TV movie series or whatever that came out like ages ago, but most people agree that the remake is actually better than the original, which is not really common in most movies out there, but I do like it a lot more. I think it was one of the best horror movies that we've had in a while, actually, to be honest. Like, I think out of talking about horror movies in the past 10 years, I think it is one of the best, easily. And it was scary, but not in like the same way that you'd expect from it. It made sense for what it was trying to do, and the character is fantastic. It had a Stranger Things vibe to it, which I think is exactly what it needed. And like I said, entertaining. And I think the second one was fine. A lot of people had a problem with the middle part of the movie. It was very slow, but I think it was trying to be that. It was trying to be very character driven, and although I wasn't too attached to what was going on in the second one as nearly as much as the first one, but I still think it deserves a spot, especially because like the last part of the movie was actually pretty damn good. Coming to the 45th spot, actually got Happy Death Day, which came out in 2017. This is a weird pick, but it's another horror movie that I really did enjoy watching. There was a sequel to it, but I wasn't crazy about the sequel. I thought it was cool, but not really it didn't feel like it fit with this franchise that they tried doing. But the first one, though, was incredible. The premise of the movie is simply these characters, this girl, right? She's like keeps dying, and every time she dies, she wakes up, right? And it's her birthday, and it's just like kind of like Groundhog Day. It's sort of a deal. It's just she keeps waking up same day over and over again. She does some crazy shit because she realizes she's gonna just wake up at the beginning of the day and everything that just happened never happened. So she just keeps doing these crazy things, and that makes for a fucking entertaining movie. And then at the same time, it's also a horror thriller. So she's like chase after this dude, and then she's trying to find out who the hell it is. It's a great horror movie. I really enjoyed it. Objectively, like, I would probably say it is a better movie, but I just enjoyed this one a little bit more. Like I said, this is my ranking. This is the ones that I have the most enjoyment with and my favorites, so it's got to be on the list. In the number 44th spot, Source Code, which came out 2011. I have not seen this movie in a while. I'll be honest, I have not. So it's kind of hard for me to talk about it when I haven't seen this movie in probably like 5 years. But I remember really liking it. I remember that the premise was this character, I believe it was Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah, I think it was. He was on a train, and he basically just had to figure out how to stop the train from blowing up. It was just like Happy Death Day, where you get multiple attempts. He was getting set back in time, and you get multiple tries, and if he fails, you know, whatever. He's just trying to find out these clues, what the hell is going on. These types of movies I really like, I'll be honest. I have a couple movies on this list like that, and Happy Death Day was obviously one of them where you're trying to figure something out as you're getting set back in time over and over again, and you get to repeat these same sort of a day, and it's like, I love seeing movies like that. There's another one that's much higher on the list that I loved, but this one I still really enjoyed. And then I remember wasn't crazy about the ending, but it was still such a fantastic ride of a movie. That's a pun right there. Fantastic ride. It's on a train the whole movie. Whatever. Next up, 43, The Edge of 17. So yeah, this is a movie I was surprised to like. This is not my type of movie. It's just not, right? It's like very much a teen drama, right? Which that's not a genre I'm usually watching. Like, usually I'll watch those just as a joke. I usually don't like them that much. But this is one of the only ones that was actually really well established and was actually able to portray teenagers really well, and it felt real. And Haley Steinfeld was the main character. She killed it as well, and it was actually an entertaining story to just see what the hell was going on. Like, it didn't have a insanely deep story that just made you go like, holy shit, or it wasn't like crazy action. It was just a simple movie with these characters who go through these crazy things together, and you get to just see them kind of, and it was grounded. That's what I think was so good about it. It wasn't these crazy elements, which sometimes movies do that really great when they do crazy shit that's like, what the hell's going on, which you'll see a lot of movies like that. But this one was grounded. So if you wanted to relive your childhood practically, or you just wanted to, maybe you're younger and you just want to see what it might be like in the future, or you're living that high school, you know, life right now, and you want to see how other people are, it literally, it felt like it, right? It felt like how it was for me. It felt like how I probably was for a lot of people. A lot of the conversations and dialogue was really real. I think this movie was a great movie, and it was probably one of my favorites of the teen drama genre, which is, like I said, not something I watch that often. So it was kind of cool to see that. It's a change of pace from the normal shit I watch. Coming in the 42 spot, I got Rocky IV, right? Which came out in 1985. Now, like I said, there's going to be some classic movies on this list, not too many. I was born in the year 2000, so like I didn't get to see that many classic movies. I didn't get to grow up with a lot of them, but the Rocky franchise was one of them I was always into as a kid. And I love them all, right? I mean, not all of them, but I think 4 was my personal favorite. I do think, you know, 1 and 2 were probably objectively the better ones. But like I said, this is my list. 4, I do think is more enjoyable for me. I think the whole thing with him going to, you know, fight this dude in like Russia, and they had like the whole training sequence, which was so awesome, and Apollo Creed dying and such. It was just such a ride of a movie, even though it was probably one of the more crazier ones. Like, it wasn't all that grounded like the first couple were. It felt a little bit more wacky, but I thought that was cool. And I liked how he was fighting someone who you legitimately hated. Like Apollo Creed, you were like, yeah, he's not a bad dude. He's just fighting, you know, he's just a boxer, right? But this was like, Rocky's fighting a guy that got your friend killed. It's like, it rose the stakes so much more because you really wanted to see Rocky win, which I think is what probably made it so enjoyable for me personally. I really enjoyed this movie. There you go. I'm in the 41 spot. I got Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. It came out in 1999. So Austin Powers, great franchise, but I think the sequel, the second one, was probably the best that we've ever seen. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that. A lot of people say original always is better for some reason, but no, I think second one, honestly, even objectively speaking, not even just personally, was a better movie. But again, Austin Powers is like a weird fucking movie. It's supposed to be that. It's crazy. None of the things make any sense what's going on, but that's the point. They're trying to make you laugh, and they're trying to make you go, what the hell is happening? And I think this movie nails that the best. You have the introduction of Mini-Me, Fat Bastards, characters that weren't in the first one, so you kind of get some of these more, you know, entertaining character arcs, or caricatures, not character arcs, within this movie, and it's just fun, right? And I think out of all like the girls that Austin Powers was with, I think the one in this one was probably the best out of all of them. The location, they were in like London and such for a decent part of the movie. It was fantastic to see. I really do think this is one of the better comedy movies I've ever seen, and it's one of the ones that if I want a good laugh, I'm gonna go watch Austin Powers 2. Coming to the 40th spot, Brothers, which came out in 2009. Another pick which is not usually the type of movie I would watch. This is like a very just it's a very character-driven movie, which sometimes can be really great. I recently saw it, by the way. It was Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal was in it, and I believe Natalie Portman was as well. And it was a really like deep film. It was kind of like you see Tobey Maguire's character, I don't remember the names, coming back from being in the military, right? Which the whole movie, he was like at war or whatever, and it was like crazy seeing him, what was going on with that. It comes back and you get to see all the effects of PTSD. If you want to see a movie that really shows off the effects of PTSD really well, I think this is one of the better movies for it. It was emotional, man, at the end. And then it was kind of like weird because his brother was with, you know, his wife, right? And he kept thinking that they like fucked and stuff, and it was a great story, I'll be honest. That's all I gotta say. I think it was one of the movies that I wasn't expecting to enjoy so much, but I saw a clip of it on Instagram and I was like, that looks pretty good. So I checked it out and I ended up really enjoying it. So there you go. Coming to number 39th spot, I got The Martian, which came out in 2015. The Martian, Matt Damon was starring in this movie. Again, I don't exactly remember this movie as well as most other movies. Some of the movies on this list I'm not gonna remember that well, so I might not be able to say as much about them, but I do remember really enjoying it. It was one of those movies kind of like Castaway where it's like one character doing something for the majority of it, and you don't really get to see many other characters except for you get these astronauts who come in later on and they start trying to help him because it's basically this guy's stuck on Mars, right? That's basically the whole premise of the movie. And it's just so cool seeing Mars. First of all, it was a really cool looking movie. It looks really beautiful. I actually watched this in school, actually. It wasn't something I watched at home. It was one of my science classes in high school, and we just watched it at like the end of the year, and I'm glad we did because it ended up being one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, The Martian. 38th spot, Click from 2006. So Click was an Adam Sandler movie, the only Adam Sandler movie on this list because I don't really like Adam Sandler movies. Not that I don't love Adam Sandler, I think he's a great dude and I think he's got some great acting skills, but a lot of his movies tend to not be that funny in my opinion. But Click, I fucking love this movie. Not only is it funny, but it's really good. It really touches into some deep ass themes about like spending time with your family and not wasting time and not taking things for granted. It really goes deep with that shit, and one of the movies I've actually cried from. I actually teared up watching Click, man. I think most people did at the ending, and it was a weird ending, but at the same time, I don't give a living hell because it was still really damn good, really entertaining. I've seen this movie many times. One of the movies I love rewatching, and yeah, that's that. Coming to the 37th spot, I got Child's Play 2, another horror movie, and Child's Play 2 is, in my opinion, the best of the Chucky movies. So this was one that I wanted to put a little bit higher, but this is one of my childhood movies, right? I used to watch this all the time when I was a kid because I always loved Chucky. I loved him since I was like fucking, I don't know, 4 years old probably. And I think I watched this for the first time when I was like 5 or 6, and I've just always been interested in the Chucky character since then. And Child's Play 2, I think, is the strongest of all of them. It came out in 1990, and it felt the most intense to me. It felt the most like scary, I guess, out of all the Child's Play films, but it was scary enough to the point where they were also able to incorporate Chucky, his character, in there. They had a lot of dialogue from him. They had a lot of things that he was doing within it, but it still was him being the villain and Andy running around and just getting fucking scared from him and such like that, and in the foster home, and then Chucky's killing everyone and everyone's blaming Andy. That's what Child's Play is to me, and that's why I think this is the best Child's Play movie. I actually did a ranking of all the Child's Play movies, all 8 of them. I think there's 8 of them. Yeah, about 8 of them. I did on my other channel though, but you can probably find a link to it somewhere in the playlist somewhere on this channel. It should be there, so you don't have to go to my other channel to see it, but there is some sort of a playlist, I think, where I included it, where I ranked all the movies in the Child's Play franchise. But yeah, that comes in at the number 7th spot. Coming to number 36th spot, I got Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So I do have, I think, 5 Star Wars movies on this list, so this is the 5th one. A lot of Star Wars movies. I am a big fan of Star Wars. I'm not going to go talk about this too much because just like Child's Play, I did do a ranking of all the Star Wars movies on my channel. Also should be in the playlist somewhere for this channel, but I did on the other channel, but you get the idea. Great fucking movie. I love Star Wars. I know a lot of people do as well, but it's also one of the franchise people are like iffy on in some ways because some of the movies aren't that good in it. Some of them people bash on hard. Return of the Jedi, though, to me was still really great. I think the beginning was a little iffy, but everything after that with the Battle of Endor and, you know, the lightsaber duel at the end was really strong. You know, having, you know, Darth Vader return to the light side made sense, and it worked, and Palpatine was cool. I mean, I wish they did a little bit more with him maybe, but for what it was, fucking great movie, right? Coming out on the 35th spot, I don't even know if I spoke English there, is Up from 2009. So one of the Pixar movies on this list, I think I have one or two other Pixar movies, but Up, I fucking loved Up. This was such a great movie. Another movie that made me teary-eyed. A lot of people say that's overrated and that only the beginning is good, like that little sequence in the beginning was the only good part of the movie, but I disagree. I think the movie itself was still really entertaining. The story was wacky, but it's a fucking Pixar movie. Of course it's gonna be wacky, but I love the characters, and I love how the character changed so much over the main character changed so much over the course of the movie, where he went from being like very just like I hate everyone to like wanting to save the species, right, and wanting to save this kid and the dog and stuff like that. And they really fun movie, really enjoyable, and his idol, and that was the one he had to go against, was his childhood idol. It was just such a great movie that told so many good, you know, moral lessons, which is what these Pixar movies always do. And yeah, it's a great movie. Coming number 34th spot, I got Rise of the Planet of the Apes, right? So I have only seen this one. I have not seen Dawn or Dawn and War of the Planet of the Apes, I think the other one. Not seen those ones. I'm probably gonna do reaction videos to those in the future. But I've seen the first one and I fucking loved it. So if I'm putting this one this high on the list, and I've heard that the next two are like much better, I'm probably gonna like them a lot, so I should probably do them. But yes, I do think this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love James Franco's in it, which he's pretty great, but I don't think he's in the other ones. But I love how everything was done in this movie. I love, you know, the apes were used, and how the monkeys were being like tested on, and all the different story that was unfolding. It wasn't action-packed. It didn't have to be. Not every movie has to have a bunch of action. I do tend to like action, but it didn't need that until the very ending. But everything else leading up to it, man, was it a great movie. I remember watching it when I was like 12 or 13 or something, and I was like, you know, good movie, but I didn't love it. But now, watching it like recently, I watched it for like again, not like too recently, it might have been like 6 months ago or something, but still. And it was such a good story. That's all I gotta say. Coming in number 33 spot, I got Spider-Man Far From Home, which is another, of course, MCU movie, also a Spider-Man movie. There's a couple of Spider-Man movies on this list. I really do like Spider-Man. But Far From Home, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite Spider-Man movie. It wasn't my favorite MCU movie, but it really did a good job of telling a story after Endgame and kind of bring us all back to speed on things. I think Mysterio was a great villain. I think a lot of the action was pretty good in this movie, and I did like a lot of the things where it's like, he was talking about how he can't be the next Tony Stark, but like he can be his own, you know, hero, whatever. I kind of like that, the messages and stuff like that I was sending. It was a good movie, but I didn't think it was one of the better Spider-Man movies out there. There's a lot of other Spider-Man ones I like a lot more. Coming in number 32 spot, 32nd, 32, whatever. Inside Out, which is another Pixar movie. One of the most surprising movies I've ever seen. I remember going to see it in the theaters, and I was like, I really don't want to see this. I thought it looked like a children's movie practically, which it kind of is. I mean, not really, but it was a great movie, right? Being interested in psychology, I think it really helps it out a lot, but it's also just in its own way a really like heartfelt, like deep movie, right? And that's what Pixar movies tend to be, and this was one of them, right? It really did it well. I remember really enjoying how it was a very colorful movie as well. Really enjoying how they had all the emotions and such, and they had their own caricatures to them, which makes sense because they're all the different emotions. And how they were like dealing with the different memory stuff. It was a great movie to like, if you want to try to teach someone psychology, it's a really good movie to show them, honestly, even like a kid especially. Fantastic movie. Coming number 31st spot, King Kong from 2005. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not picking the original. I'm not picking the other one. There was another one that came out. My list again. I didn't grow up with the original ones, so I just didn't find as interest in them. Especially because the original one's really fucking old, like really fucking old. There's no way I'm gonna enjoy it. If I didn't grow up with a movie like that, I'm probably not gonna enjoy it, right? That's just how it is. But King Kong from 2005, I really do love this movie, right? I do, I'll be honest. And I know a lot of people don't. Yes, this is the era where they started using CGI, right? Which is, you know, everyone hates CGI. Which, yeah, some of the CGIs look pretty crappy. But some of it actually looked pretty fucking good. I think King Kong himself looked really good in this movie. And it was a long-ass movie, which I guess some people might not like, but I had no problem with that, honestly, especially when I was younger. I was always just rewatching the movie again and again because it was a fun movie to watch, I gotta say, really fun. But it's not anything to, freak out about. It's not... I saw the recent one, Skull Island, which came out recently, which I wasn't too crazy about, but I think he had just so much cool stuff going on. Him fighting all these dinosaurs on this cool island. All the mysteries behind the island was so cool. I know it's not original because there was one that came out before it, but I don't give a flying fuck if it's not original. I don't give a shit. It's the one I enjoyed more. It's the one I liked more. That's why it's on the list, and that's why the other ones aren't, because I know I'm gonna get some, boomers in the chat being like, oh, he liked the remake instead of the original. Coming with 30th spot, Shazam from 2019. Another superhero movie. This is a DCEU movie, and I believe the only DCEU movie on this list. Wonder Woman I did like, but I don't think it was top 50 worthy. But Shazam was pretty freaking good, even just in its its story and its themes that it's talking about. One of the things I liked about it a lot was the whole adopted family kind of thing, which if you're a part of adopted family or something, it probably is closer to you because of how it handled that, and how he didn't really like his family at first. He was just kind of strolling through, but then he ended up really liking them a lot in the end, and all his his brothers and sisters and such, and he was starting to become attached to them, which I think was really cool to see. And just, it was a fun movie as well, which again, that's the type of movies I do like. I like fun movies a lot. This one was fun. It was fun as fuck. Coming number 29th spot, I got Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It's the 4th placed Star Wars movie on this list. And Rogue One, yeah, it's a pretty fucking good movie. From start to finish, I do think the final act is where this movie's strongest. Of course, the whole battle of Scarif and Darth Vader coming out, of course that's the best part of the movie. But everything else before that, the character, driven moments, how it's kind of slowly unraveling the story about this Death Star that they need to, get the plans for so they can destroy it in the future. And I think it was an awesome way to lead into A New Hope, to be honest. For a Star Wars fan, this is a great fucking movie. If you're not a big Star Wars guy, you're probably not going to be crazy about this movie, because there's, the action itself is Star Wars action, right? It's not like anything above and beyond, but even then, it was just so awesome to see it. There's a lot of fan service-y type stuff in there, but fan service can be good if it's done well, for sure. Coming number 28th spot, actually a movie I have recently watched, 2 movies that I recently watched, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. I decided to go with both of them. Of course, you guys know I recently watched them, and for the first time. And yeah, I liked 2 and 3, Lost World and 3, but I don't think they're as good as the original or Jurassic World. I have not seen The Fallen Kingdom. I don't think it's going to end up being better than these 2, but if it is, that'd be nice, but I really doubt it. But I love these 2 movies. I enjoyed them thoroughly, probably original a little bit more, but I still really enjoyed Jurassic World as well. I think they got fantastic stories to them, the whole island, and they feel different. It doesn't feel like it's the same story being repeated. It definitely, the Jurassic World felt very different from Jurassic Park, which is why I think I liked it so much, because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting some sort of rehash, but it wasn't at all. It was really different. And the movie itself, obviously, it's a very popular movie. I think everyone knows why it's so good. I don't think I have to go on about it for that long. You guys have probably already seen my thoughts on the movies if you've watched the reactions. But yeah, that's that. So coming to number 27th spot, Halloween 1978, Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007, and Halloween 2018. All 3 of those. I said, fuck it. I'm a big fan of the Halloween franchise. I have seen a lot of the Halloween movie. I've seen every Halloween movie except for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I will do a reaction video for that. I will, eventually. But I think out of all the Halloween movies, I loved Halloween 4. I loved even Season of the Witch, to be honest. I thought was really good. I think H2O was pretty good. But I think the best ones, in my opinion, are the 3 that are just titled Halloween, which is kind of funny. But yes, the original, I think, is great. I think Rob Zombie's Halloween is actually really fucking underrated. And the one from 2018 that just came out was also really damn good. It was a really good sequel to the original. 3 great fucking movies, man. I think Halloween, a lot of them have been a little bit too much, like Resurrection, 6, 5, just a little bit too much, to the point where it was like, it's not even enjoyable anymore. Like, he keeps getting up from these like really ridiculous injuries, but I feel like these movies kept it more grounded. I feel like these three kept it more like real, what was going on, and I loved them all. I think Rob Zombie's was honestly really underrated because yes, it was a bit extreme. They went too far in some places, especially in the first act of the movie. But I do like how different it was from the original, though. They still made it really different by including his backstory and such into the fold, which was awesome. Coming to the 26th spot, I have Alita Battle Angel. Yeah, a weird-ass movie to put on this list. And I wasn't expecting to put on this list because I recently saw it like about 2 months ago, 3 months ago maybe a little bit longer than that. But yeah, I freaking loved it. I freaking loved Alita Battle Angel. So the movie premise is kind of weird, it's kind of wacky, but again, those are the type of movies I really like. I love the universe that was explored in this movie, and I really hope we get a sequel someday, but I don't think we will because not a lot of people went to see the movie, unfortunately. But it really deserved it because it was a really good movie. It was really fucking good. It was one of those movies where it had a great soundtrack as well, had a lot of great action. CGI was outstanding on the main character, on Alita herself. Characters were great. Like I said, the universe was great. I wasn't crazy about some of the villains they had. They kind of were really like weird comic booky, but again, I think that's what they were going for, and it worked. It really did. Coming to the 25th spot, I got Overlord, which came out in 2018. Overlord is a zombie movie, right? So out of zombie movies, I only have this one on the list, I believe. Zombieland I do love a lot, but I didn't include it on the list. I didn't think it was top 50 worthy, probably top 100 if I was to do 100 movies. But Overlord was really weirdly surprising how good it was because I wasn't expecting to like it that much, but I had a really good time watching this movie. It was like a very old-time feeling zombie movie, and it had a lot of weird shit to it. Like, at first it didn't seem like it was going to be a zombie movie, but obviously if you've seen the trailers, you know it's going to be a zombie movie. It kind of felt like it was going to be some Call of Duty like World War II type movie, but no, it goes right into like zombies, and the zombies are crazy scary and entertaining and action-packed. This movie nails zombie action pretty damn well, more than I think any other movie has for zombies, to be honest. So that's what's just going to be on the list, yeah. And coming in the number 24th spot, I got Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade. All three of them. I said, fuck it. You know what? I love these three movies so much, I don't want to have to pick one. I really didn't. I think the Crystal Skull. So yeah, we can just forget about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't think it was a bad movie. I actually like it more than most people do, but I don't think it'd be top 50 worthy like the first three Indiana Jones should be. But yeah, I'm actually excited for the fifth one. I know most people aren't, but I'm excited to see what the hell they do with it. But Harrison Ford just kills it as Indiana Jones the whole way through. It's a very fun action adventure type franchise, which is what I like to see. They got some mystery involved in there too, but it's primarily just like adventure, just figuring out these clues and then finding these cool like artifacts and shit, and then just seeing some crazy weird bosses that they have to go against basically, and it's entertaining as hell, man. I gotta say, just seeing Indiana Jones kick ass is what I like to see. Unpopular opinion, but I do think I like Temple of Doom the most out of these three, even though objectively, yeah, I know Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade are probably a little bit better, but just personal opinion, I don't know. I've always, grown up enjoying how different Temple of Doom was compared to the other two, so I said, screw it, let's include all three of them on the list because I think they all deserve it, to be honest. Coming to our 23 spots, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I know, everyone says this is the best. I'm sorry, it's not my favorite Star Wars movie. I know it's really good, but not my favorite. But yeah, like I was talking about with Return of the Jedi, this movie is not really what started it all. Obviously, New Hope is what started it all, but this is what really pushed Star Wars to the next goddamn level. They clearly increased the budget for this one, like a lot. They were allowed to do a lot more crazy things with it. A lot of the cool practical effects were really great, like the Wampa in the beginning and such. Some really cool shit from this one, and it started to, have the iconic, very iconic movie, obviously. I think we all know that. With the, I am your father at the end of the movie, and just learning that was like, what the fuck? Obviously, I didn't grow up with it, so maybe I didn't get as attached because of it, but it's still the top 25. I mean, come on. It's still a really high spot. Number 22 spot, In Time, which was another like one-off movie, which was so goddamn good. So this movie's premise, I want to see a movie like this done again. They have time on their wrists, right? And the time that they have is basically their cash. They use this to buy things, but it's also that if they hit zero, they die, right? It's the amount of time they have left, and they can get more cash or they can get more time via working or just stealing, just like you get money. But it's literally time is money. That's essentially what it is, and money is time, which I think is such an interesting concept for a goddamn movie that I'm surprised they haven't done it again. I love this concept of a movie, and it was such an entertaining movie too, because it's like, you know, the poor are gonna get, you know, killed and such, and it's like, it's sad to see it and how the universe was. It's a very dystopian type movie, and it was so good, so good. I loved watching this movie. I want to see it again. I haven't watched it in a while, just like Source Code, but it was a great movie. Number 21 spot is going to be Bumblebee from 2018. So Bumblebee, the only Transformers movies on this list. I don't really like the Transformers movies that much. They're not too great in my opinion, but this one, it was pretty good, pretty good. So Haley Steinfeld, another great actress that it was in another movie on this list, of course, and she killed it. Pretty much killed it. I like how it was more grounded. You know, the other Transformers movies are more like crazy and like Michael Bay, boom, blom, you know, bombs going off everywhere, fucking things getting thrown around, buildings getting destroyed. This movie was much more closer to home. It was much more smaller, but sometimes smaller is better, and I think in this case it worked much better than those crazy movies that had too much shit going on. You couldn't even tell it was happening. This movie kept it smaller, it kept it more, you know, simple, and it really did work in my opinion. I'm excited to see the rest of the Transformers movies they do from here on out with this new, like, kind of soft reboot, I guess you could say. Number 20th spot, Disturbia. Movie most people probably haven't even heard of on this list, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It was a movie I saw around the time when it first came out. I was pretty young at the time, but I still watched it. And it's kind of a horror thriller type movie, but it's not really that scary. Not a lot of people die either. It's not really like a slasher, but it's technically, it's a great movie, right? Shia LaBeouf's in it. Shia LaBeouf, one of my favorite actors of all time. I know he fell off the face of the earth practically, but he was still one of my favorites at this time especially. And this is when he was in his prime, and he just killed it in this movie. It was one of the, really good soundtrack as well. One of those just really intense movies where everything feels real, and it's like, holy shit, right? That's the type of movie I like to see. So practically what's going on in this movie is, I'm talking about the movie more than I usually do than other movies, because a lot of the other movies I feel like most people have already seen, but this one I doubt any of you have seen, or at least a lot of you have seen. He's under house arrest in his house because he punched a Spanish teacher or whatever, and now he's practically stuck in his house, and he starts finding clues about his neighbor possibly being a murderer, serial killer. So he starts investigating, and he basically finds out that some fucked up shit, and he gets involved in some stuff he doesn't want to get involved in, and then shit goes down and people start getting killed, and it's a crazy movie. It's a crazy, fun, enjoyable experience. I think Shia LaBeouf does carry the role though very well. Great movie. Number 19 spot, The Amazing Spider-Man for 2012. So like I said, there's gonna be a couple more Spider-Man movies on this list. I love Spider-Man. He's one of my favorite heroes out there, and The Amazing Spider-Man I think is really underrated. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I still think it's underrated, but it's just not top 50 worthy, I don't think. But The Amazing Spider-Man I think was still a really good remake, even though a lot of people disagree with me. I think Andrew Garfield killed the role. I think that they went with a good route with Spider-Man, making it a bit more dark, I feel like, and the character himself, like, Peter didn't have any friends in this one, right? You had Harry in the Sam Raimi trilogy. He didn't have anyone in this one, which made it feel more depressing to see his character just going around getting picked on and shit, and him just being alone, and then his only friend, really, his uncle, dying. It really felt more impactful than the Sam Raimi trilogy. I think it did, honestly. I'm not even kidding. I like The Amazing Spider-Man more than the original Spider-Man. Kill me for saying that, but I do like it more. And the Lizard as a villain was great, very similar to Green Goblin in the original, but in its own way, and it was fantastic movie. And I love the Gwen Stacy relationship as well. That was really well done. Coming to number 18th spot, though, we got Spider-Man Homecoming, another Spider-Man movie. I liked it a little bit more than Far From Home, I do. Homecoming was a much smaller scale movie. Not a lot of crazy shit was going on, right? Vulture, though, was a fantastic villain. Just like Bumblebee, you don't have to be crazy big to be really good. And I think this movie kind of proves that. And it kind of gives a smaller scale story and just does it really damn well. Having Iron Man in it kind of connected these two characters more so in their respective, their, combination movies. So in their later movies, in the Avengers movies, in Infinity War and Endgame, it feels more upsetting when certain stuff happens within these movies. So yeah, I really do like Homecoming. I do. Coming number 17th spot, The Avengers, right? Just the original Avengers, the first one. This movie was one of the biggest for its time because this is kind of what started the crossover era, which is what we're in now, where everything's got to be crossing over. Franchises, these cinematic universes are being created. I mean, holy shit, the amount of cinematic universes being created right now is insane. And Avengers is kind of what started it all. I mean, I'd argue Freddy vs. Jason started it all, but you know, even probably movies before that I'm just not thinking of. But this was it for superhero movies especially. I mean, it was insanely well received, and it was a great damn movie just overall. I don't have to even talk about it that much. You guys know it's a great movie. Coming number 16th spot, Liam Neeson in Taken, right, from 2008. Taken, second and third, not as good, but first one, love this movie. It's a very iconic movie now. It's got the iconic line, "I will find you and I will kill you." We all know that line. Great movie. Liam Neeson just nails the role. I love these mystery type movies where people are finding out these little things here and there, and then you have a lot of fun, crazy action mixed in with it. That's what this movie is. Liam Neeson kicking ass for 2 hours, basically, and I really loved it. John Wick is a movie I have seen and I have loved. I really want to include on this list. Unfortunately, I think it would be in the top like 100, but I just didn't put it any higher. I haven't seen this 2 and 3 though, so I might do that in the future. That might be a reaction thing we'll do, but I did love John Wick, but unfortunately, I just didn't love it as much as these next 50 ones I have on this list. I know people might ask me about John Wick because I do like these kind of just action-packed, kill everyone type movies, and this one was one of those, and it's the one that I just enjoyed the most. Number 15th spot is Inception. Inception was a groundbreaking movie all around, to be honest. It was very confusing, but if you get past it being a little confusing, and if you kind of understand it a little bit, it starts to grow on you. Like I said, action was great. It's a part of movies I really do enjoy, but the story itself there was just really intriguing and interesting. I think a lot of the characters in it were pretty interesting and enjoyable. The set pieces were insanely well done, and I love the movie. Not much to say about it other than that, to be honest. Number 14th spot, Spider-Man 2 from 2004. So Spider-Man 2 has grown on me more and more over the years. I mean, originally I didn't think it was my favorite Spider-Man movie, but I think I've gotten to the point where it's like, it's just really fucking good. It really is. I gotta put it, you know, pretty damn high. I like Homecoming so much, and I wanted to put it higher than Spider-Man 2. I even wanted to put The Amazing Spider-Man higher than Spider-Man 2, but couldn't bring myself to it. Spider-Man 2 is such a fantastic movie. I wasn't a big fan of the original Spider-Man from Sam Raimi. I really wasn't. I think Spider-Man 2 was just much better all around. I even like Spider-Man 3, but it didn't make it to the list. But I still do like Spider-Man 3 a lot. But Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock was a great villain, right? And I think they had some of the most interesting storylines going on for Peter Parker with him losing his powers and such, and how that affects him as a person. That was deep as fuck. I loved that, but I don't think it's deserving of any higher than that. Now, 13th spots, Back to the Future Part 1 and Part 2. I didn't include Part 3. I love Part 3, but I don't think it's top 50. But Part 1 and Part 2 of Back to the Future, wow. So these are classic movies that they're still amazing to this day, which is just so weird to see that. But like, I've seen these movies probably like almost 100 times each. I wouldn't be surprised if I've seen them at least 100 times, but they're really entertaining. This was also part of my childhood, but even though I didn't grow up with them, I didn't grow up with them first coming out. I grew up with just watching them because, you know, they were always on TV, and I was always watching TV movies, and this is one of the movies that I always came across and always really found myself really enjoying. And I think it's true that Michael J. Fox is a fantastic actor. You know, it's really sad to see what happened to him a couple of years after these movies, what was going on with him with Parkinson's. But he just was fantastic in this movie, and I think a lot of people agree with me on that. And just the interactions that were happening, the originality that the movie has, the soundtrack, it's very original, which I think is good to see, especially with everything going on. I mean, time travel wasn't a barely popular thing before this movie, and once the movie came out, time travel was just in every fucking movie from then on out, to be honest. So, yeah, I loved it. Number 2 spot, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Yes, I like it a little bit more than Episode 5. This movie objectively is not that good. I'll be honest, objectively it's not that good, but so many people love it because they grew up with it, right? They grew up with this movie, and it has some great stuff to it, right? It does it. Great soundtrack, great action, but there is a lot of crap in it. So a lot of the dialogue's crap, a lot of the acting's crap, but I don't give a shit. It's still Star Wars Episode 3. It's still got the Anakin versus Obi-Wan, Yoda versus Palpatine, Grievous versus Obi-Wan, Palpatine coming out and getting, fighting Mace Windu, and the creation of Darth Vader. So much great shit for Star Wars fans, but at the same time, you look at it as a movie, it's like, is it really that good? No. But it's so entertaining as a Star Wars movie, therefore, it's going to be pretty high on the list. Coming to the 11th spot, I got Non-Stop, another Liam Neeson movie, just like Source Code, just like these other movies where they're trying to find something out, but this one doesn't have like the Groundhog Day-esque element to it where they're going back in time. No, he has to find out who is the one sending him these text messages telling him to send him money or else he's gonna blow up the plane. And it's intense. There's action, there's like suspense. You're like, what the fuck's going on? And you have no idea who the person is. You cannot guess it. Like, it's almost impossible to guess it. You're just like, dude, who the hell is doing it? And it's really interesting to find out who it is, and then going back and watching it again, and you're like, oh, you start to catch on the clues and such. And I want to see this movie again. I haven't seen it in a while, but I really think it's deserving of seeing again. And we're finally getting to the top 10. Thank the goddamn Lord. So much. It's a lot of movies. Number 10 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy from 2014. Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't put Volume 2. I did like Volume 2, but I didn't put it. But Guardians of the Galaxy was one of the more surprising movies out there because the characters looked so weird. It was so weird for the MCU as well. It's like, what the hell is this shit? But it ended up being some of the most heartfelt stuff from the entire MCU. Had some great story elements, had some great heart, I just said heart, but had a lot of just emotion to it. The characters, all of them, great. They're all very different from one another. Chris Pratt, like I said, I love one of my favorite actors of all time, and he kills the role as a Star-Lord. Really, all the actors kill the roles that they're doing in their respective places. A lot of awesome locations, a lot of awesome things, very original. That's what I like to see from movies, and this one I think was groundbreaking because of it kind of proved that you can do these crazy things and still end up being a great movie. It doesn't have to be similar or familiar to what we've seen before. It could be something crazy and insane. I think it's allowing the MCU to do more crazy and insane things in the future that they might have not been so, confident about before. I'm glad they decided to do it because it ended up being a great damn movie. Coming number 9 spot, I got Logan, which was, of course, an X-Men movie. And I just realized I didn't put Deadpool on the list, but whatever. Deadpool would probably be like top 60, top 70. But yeah, Logan is a movie I didn't see till recently as well, actually. I didn't see it when it first came out because I'm not an X-Men guy. I haven't seen the other X-Men movies. I've only seen Logan and Deadpool 2. And I watched it because everyone said it was fantastic. And yes, it was. And I haven't even seen the other X-Men movies. I don't have any attachment to this character, Wolverine. But it didn't matter. It was so good. Just everything about it, man. And seeing, him have Wolverine, like, getting attached to this girl, and then seeing the action was great by itself. I mean, it was a very brutal movie, which is what I like to see from movies. Usually I tend to enjoy the more brutal movies. It was pretty damn brutal. And it's sad, man. This movie is really sad, but it's also intense and, like, great. It's a great movie. Coming number 8 spot, A Nightmare on Elm Street and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. So both of Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street movies. He also did a New Nightmare, but I didn't put that on the list. I just put the original and 3. I love, honestly, a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I even like the remake. I like I said, Freddy vs. Jason. I like A New Nightmare. Even Part 2 was pretty good. A lot of the movies were pretty great in this franchise, but I think the best ones were the original and Part 3. They're great movies, man. I really love the aspect of having a slasher in your sleep, killing you while you're sleeping. It's scarier than Michael Myers. It's scarier than, well, the thought of it's scarier than Michael Myers and Jason. But in terms of, like, the movie itself, they're not that scary because Freddy is so wacky. But I think that's part of the charm that these movies have, is how wacky he is. He gets a little too wacky in the later movies, but at least in Part 1 and 3, it's pretty grounded in some ways. He's not too crazy with it, but he's creepy enough to the point where you feel like icky when he's around you, which how you should be because of his past, of course. But there's something about the originality of this movie. Wes Craven just did a great job with a lot of it, and I haven't seen it since, until recently, actually. There's not a movie I've seen, back when I was a kid like I did with Child's Play. So it is very new to me, but I still really enjoyed it. And the character of Nancy, who was in both of them, one of my favorite horror characters of all time, absolutely amazing job by Heather Langenkamp. And you had Johnny Depp in the first one as well. Just some great characters between both these movies, which I think is really important for slashers, to have good characters, because you want to care when they die. They're all probably, a lot of them are going to die, but you have to care about them. If you're not caring about them, it's not a good thing. Coming number 7th spot, I got Kick-Ass. So someone actually recommended me to react to Kick-Ass in one of my videos before, but I said, dude, actually Kick-Ass is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen it a million damn times, and I love it so much. I like 2 as well. I don't think I love it, so I didn't put it on the list, but Kick-Ass, the original one, based off a comic book, and it's so goddamn good. It's wacky, it's goofy, but it's still grounded at the same time. And it's a superhero movie, but no one has any powers. And you get to see, Hit Girl, Kick-Ass, Big Daddy, just doing all sorts of crazy shit. And Kick-Ass is getting his ass kicked the whole time, but it's still really entertaining. And the best scenes in the movie are probably the scenes with Hit Girl just destroying people. That's probably the best. It's a little unrealistic, but like I said, I don't give a flying fuck. It's entertaining watching this little girl just destroy people, chopping off limbs, shooting people. It's my kind of movie. I'm sorry, it literally is my kind of movie with some added comedy in it as well. They got some good comedy to it. And that's what I like to see from a movie. And the story itself is really strong. It really flows well from, scene to scene, unlike a lot of other movies I've seen. Coming in number 6 spot, Toy Story 3, my favorite animated movie of all time, my favorite Pixar movie, one of my favorite actual movies of all damn time. Toy Story 3 is so great. So yeah, it made me cry. This movie made me cry. I think it made everyone fucking cry. And it was intense. I love the new atmosphere. You get out of Andy's house and now you're in this daycare, and it's holding. Lotso is a great villain. You'll see a lot of great villains in these last couple movies. Actually, yeah, all these movies have great villains here on out, which is really important to movies in my opinion. And Lotso was menacing and just fucking evil, but also kind of understandable in some ways, which is how a villain should be. And of course, we all know the trash compactor scene at the end of the episode, or the end of the movie, was just so good. So good how it built up tension. It made you actually believe they were all gonna die. The themes in the movie about growing up and all that, and it was just like, it was a sad movie to watch, which I kind of like sad movies, so it's on the list. Number 5, we're now in the top 5. Number 5 spot is gonna be The Dark Knight. I didn't have Dark Knight Rises, I didn't have Batman Begins, but Dark Knight, I think, I don't have to even say much about it. Yes, it's a fantastic movie, mainly because of Heath Ledger as Joker. He is the best part of the movie by far. I still love the movie itself, though. It's still great. It can be a little iffy in some parts, like it's a little boring, but it's still a great movie. Like, objectively speaking, you have to say it's one of the best movies of all time, even if some scenes aren't all that rewatchable, but rewatchability isn't everything, to be honest. Even just watching through it for the first time was groundbreaking. It was like, holy shit. The Joker just kills it. He kills it. Like I said, he holds this movie, but is he my favorite Joker? I don't know. You're going to have to wait and see. Number 4. This one's going to hurt some people. I know it's going to hurt Star Wars fans. But yeah, number 4 is Star Wars The Force Awakens. You guys are going to hate me. I know. Everyone hates this movie. Not everyone hates this movie. Everyone hates Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. But this one's usually, said, yeah, it's a good sequel, but it's not that good. It's too similar to A New Hope. Well, I just think it's A New Hope, but done better. That's all I got to say about it. I think it's on a very surface level, very similar to New Hope, yes. But if you look at it deeply, it's not anything like it. The characters aren't anything like it, really. It's very different. The story is different. It's just got a similar feel to it because it's what they wanted to go for. But as a Star Wars movie, yes, this is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. I love the action. I love how we haven't seen Star Wars for 10 years, and it comes back with this banger of movie. A lot of fan service, but good fan service. Han Solo coming back was fantastic. Chewie, Leia, Luke at the very, very end, which kind of was ruined in The Last Jedi, but still in this movie it was really great to see. Kylo Ren as a villain was intriguing. We didn't know much about him yet. Rey, yes, she was a little iffy in this movie, but later on her character was definitely, you know, improved upon to the point where I think her character is justified in the movie. Finn, great character as well. Poe, we don't really see too much of, but still a great character. I love this movie. I'm sorry. It's probably the most enjoyable and fun Star Wars movie there is, and I do think the story is really strong. The death of Han Solo is probably one of the more emotional parts of the entire Star Wars franchise. So yeah, that's that. Now we get to the top 3, which the top 3 is actually the kind of the top 5 because there's 5 movies in here, but it's the top 3 spots. Number 3 is Captain America Civil War and Captain America the Winter Soldier. Be warned, the next 3 movies are all superhero movies, so if you don't like superhero movies, get the fuck out of here. I'm kidding. The Civil War and Winter Soldier, I do like Civil War a lot more, but I wanted to include the Winter Soldier because I think it's deserving of in a spot as well. I think the Winter Soldier it doesn't have that emotion to it. I feel like it doesn't have that emotional weight as, you know, Civil War does, but it's still one of the more entertaining of the MCU. But Civil War, I think, is way more insane because it feels like an Avengers movie. It really does. It doesn't feel like a Captain America movie, which is great. Captain America versus Iron Man, fuck, dude. Bucky in there as well. I mean, this is the movie that got me really into the MCU. I was originally not really into it. I watched a few of them, but I was like, yeah, I don't really care too much. This one just said, you gotta love the MCU, mainly because Spider-Man was introduced as well, which I love Spider-Man, but I fell in love with these characters, man. I was like, holy shit, I don't know which side to choose. They both seem pretty reasonable. Originally, I wanted to say Captain America, but then I realized Iron Man was kind of right in some ways as well, and it was just like, who the fuck's right? You know what I mean? And that's one of the greatest things about this movie. And it leads into Infinity War later on. But number 2 spots, it's going to be Joker from 2019. These next movies are really recent. So Joker, yeah, there's not much to say there. The Joker was just such a fucking good movie from start to finish. Joaquin Phoenix, like I said, did an amazing job. It's a very different type of Joker than Heath Ledger, I would say, but it's still really well done. Psychologically speaking, it was one of the more impactful movies for me because I'm very interested in the whole mental illness thing. I think it kind of hits home in a lot of different aspects, and I think the writing was just, it was so perfect. The dialogue, everything everyone was saying was so perfect. They had little bits of symbolism thrown in here every now and then. The scene when he goes like this, makes a smile with the blood, one of the most telling scenes of any movie ever. Like, oh, it chills down my goddamn butthole. Like, it was so good. It was so damn good. There's not much more to say about it other than it was just such a good movie. I want to do like a full review of this movie, but I haven't seen it a little bit. Man, actually, like a little bit. I probably saw it like 3 months ago, actually. But everyone agrees it's really good. Everyone agrees. I don't really have much more to say about it other than that because I don't think many people disagree with me on that. Although Rotten Tomatoes gave like a 69% for some reason, which I don't understand. But you know, whatever. It's still a fantastic movie. It doesn't even need action. It has barely any action, but who cares? It doesn't need it. It's a very character-driven movie. That's what I love about it. And number one is 2 movies. 2 movies that work so damn well together. 2 movies that are basically the same movie. You can probably guess it just by seeing the other movies on this list, just by knowing it's a superhero movie. You have to know what it is. There's no way you don't know what 2 movies I'm about to pick. You have to know. But yes, it's Hulk and The Incredible Hulk. I decided to put both of them together. I think I'm kidding. Infinity War and Endgame. So yes, Infinity War and Endgame, probably some of the most impactful movies to me as being a massive fan of the MCU and really caring about a lot of characters and stuff like that. And yes, it's a very, very, very cliche answer. Like, oh, what's your favorite movie? Oh, Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. Like, yeah, of course, it's fucking cliche, but who cares? It's what I enjoy. It's what I like the most. Objectively, do I think they are the best movies of all time? No. But I don't care because I haven't seen every movie. For the movies I have seen, these ones have just done the most for me. They've done the most for me in terms of enjoyment, in terms of like just being emotional, going on some sort of a shitty, not really shitty, but enjoyable as roller coaster all the way through and just blowing my mind in every aspect. Great action, great soundtrack, great acting. Wow, these movies were such experiences, such theater experiences. And I will never forget seeing them for the first time. I still watch them to this day. I've seen both these movies many times, and they've literally just came out within the past 2 years. And I hope to see some more good stuff from the MCU, even though I feel like this will definitely be the peak of the MCU for sure. But it was such a good 2-movie experience. They basically go hand in hand. I couldn't separate them. I don't like picking between them, but honestly, I think I like Endgame a little bit more. I think it's more character driven. Infinity War is great, but Infinity War is mainly just 2 hours of straight action with a little bit of good Thanos moments here and there, and a couple of other character moments. But I like having a good mix between the character moments and the action. I think Endgame does that even better. Endgame's also more emotional. Endgame also has a lot more, you know, a lot of cool fan service as well, which, like I said, fan service can be done good if it's done right. Yes, that was a long ass video, I know, but had to be done. Top 50 favorite movies of all time. Let me know your favorite movies in the comment section below. You don't have to do 50, just do 10 or 5 or whatever you want to do. Let me know. If you want to see any other rankings like this, let me know. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on my next one. Peace out.